Kirsty of Kirsty Does Stuff, and today, guess what I'm talking about? Possibly my favourite orchid in the world that I seem to have gone a bit mad on this year is the Miltoniopsis, or otherwise known as the pansy orchid, because the flower is very like a pansy. So I've been collecting them from all over really, but lucky enough to discover that one of my local supermarkets had a very good supplier of all different kinds of orchids, and so for extremely reasonable prices I managed to make my collection much larger. So this is all what's in flower at the moment, most of which were bought in flower. There's a couple, this is my original one that's still in flower that I brought back on myself. I've had it for a couple of years, so this is the first time it's reflowered. They're not that difficult to get to reflower, but I just wasn't doing the right things. What I've been doing is, once the flowers have started to go, I've repotted them into self-watering setups. So I've got one example down here. There we go. So all flowers have gone. I've repotted it in self-watering, and so all that means you get different self-watering pots, but these are very reasonable ones that I use. So you can't, there's not a pot inside a pot, it's just this pot that you plant into, and then underneath there's a reservoir and the little spout that you can keep feeding with water, and there's a wick inside there that lifts up the moisture and feeds it into the moss in the pot, which takes it through the layers of things that are wicking, that are absorbent of water, and will pass it on, because Miltoniopsis like to be nice and moist. There we go. So yes, so this one's going hopefully into a growing spurt, so it can have more flowers either in autumn, or next spring. So that's, once the flowers go over, I pot them up. But they've not had any new orchids in this supermarket for a few weeks now, and so I was keeping my eye on the ones that hadn't sold and waiting for them to be reduced, because there was no way I was paying full price for an orchid that had lost its flowers. But then every time you go in, it's quite torturous seeing them getting drier and drier and not being reduced. But today I went in and all three of them were reduced. Now these, they're obviously no name Miltoniopsis, but they are very beautiful, and a lot of them, like this one, looks very like a waterfall one that I've seen advertised. There, see, look at that beautiful large flower, beautiful waterfall lip, and dark sort of magenta red. It was £12, whereas online it cost you a lot more. I've just bought two others online as well, but they are named varieties. One that's a yellow one that I'm very much looking forward to getting, because I've been dying to get a yellow one, and they all seem to be shades of white or purple or red at the minute, as you can see. But this one's yellow, so I'm very excited about that. I'll put the name up on the screen because I can't remember it right now. And I also bought another one which I think looks very much like this guy here. After I bought it, I thought, oh, looks very much like that one. But it's a name variety. It's Breathless something, which I know is a very good waterfall lip, so I shall put the name of that one down as well. I'll clear off some of these guys, and then we'll take a look at these ones that I bought reduced and see what we think. Okay, so I've got these two over here for you to see. Now these two were the last two that I bought reduced from the same place, and they were the same price, reduced from £12 to £3. And as you can see, they're probably the least amount of orchid that you can see that this one just seems to have 2 leaves. I don't know if there's a pseudobulb under there. And this one has got a pseudobulb just on the bottom of this leaf, but only just really. So what I'm doing is they're well watered. I'm leaving them in the original pots until I see some other sign of growth, because I don't want to upset them any further. I can imagine the root systems aren't great. So I'll wait, and hopefully with enough light and water and maybe a bit of food, then we might get some more vegetative growth to then think, yes, the plant's growing is good, we can move it on. So yeah, these two are not the healthiest of specimens at the moment, but fingers crossed we can bring them on. These guys actually have a bit more about them, I think, in terms of the actual physical plant. What I was going to say before about the 2 that I bought online, one of them with the postage was over £50, the yellow one, and the other one was slightly cheaper. I think it came to about 30 or 40. So, and they'll probably be quite small plants, I think 9-inch pots. So these guys are really good deals, even though they're not technically named varieties. You can look them up and you can find out what you think they'll be, and they're very beautiful anyway. So I suppose it's good to have a mixture of both, but sometimes you go, oh, how much for that? Right, let's free these guys from their plastic and see what we've got to play. I do remember in the shop when they first started going over, they are ones that I've got already. This one's just the red flower, I think, with the sort of normal yellow centre and bit of a lip. So main issues here, apart from being pretty dry, we've got a few weeds in the pot. We've got dead leaves, dead flowers, dead shoots. So we'll get rid of all of this and we'll chop off the existing old flower spike as far down as we can. There we go, and that's just about all we need to do right now, apart from of course water it. And I do like to put a bit of liquid orchid grow feed in to give them a good kick start. Oh, this is going to come off, yes it is. I'm taking off, you see when the leaves come off, when they go yellow and die, they fall off, but they leave this little sheathy bit at the bottom. It's almost like they sever at the same place every time. So you've got to kind of get rid of these, because not only do they go dried and horrible, but that's generally where your new roots are going to come from, or new growths. So getting rid of them clears the way and they don't harbour any germs or whatnot. There we go. I think that's all we can do here. On this one, interestingly, and I've had this before, the pseudobulb has split through the leaf. I don't know, you can see, there you go, that's it. Can you see it's bulging out of the leaf? So sometimes all sorts happen with irregular watering, so hopefully we can resolve that. So not a bad plant. If you look compared to ones that just have 2 leaves, this has got a few leaves, it's got an obvious pseudobulb, it's flowered. I think it's quite decent really. And that is the red one, which I shall need to put over here so I don't forget before I label it. I think these two are the same. They are probably something like that. There's sort of lots of variations around the that type of flower. now I've forgotten the name of that as well. You know, that you might have more purple in the lip of a white flower, more yellow, you know, all sorts of. Hair Alexander is the sort of classic one, and I had one over here earlier. Oh, there's a beastie. Get out. So these are all sort of variations on that. I would love it if they're a bit different to what I've already got, but I do have a few different kinds, so they're probably similar. But I don't mind. So we'll get rid of this. Take away all the dead flowerage and all the weeds. I was planting a few of them up today. Look at the beastie. And what I do is when I'm repotting them, I always spray with hydrogen peroxide 3%, mainly on Oncidiums and Miltoniopsis, not so much on Phalaenopsis, just because, I don't know, the stuff that they're in, and they come from all over Europe. You've got to watch for different bugs, bush snails and the like. So you're best at the early doors when you're repotting them. Just give them a good old spray down, and that means you're not going to bring anything in that you don't want in your house with your collection. So we'll chop this guy right back down here. Oops. There we go. So that's got one really nice big pseudobulb. It's also got a new growth which is growing inside this leaf. It's not a flower spike, but it's growing inside the leaf. So that's a good sign as well. These guys are all pretty healthy for the fact they were left in the shop a long time. Now I know I should be cleaning my secateurs in between plants, but I'm cutting literally dried flower spikes, so nothing's gonna flow through the plant or anything, so I'm sure it'll be okay. So that's number 2, which is a kind of white and pink flower. Now this guy's interesting. I didn't notice this in the shop till I got to the checkout. He's actually got 2 flowers still to go, 2 buds. So he's had 2 flower spikes and he's got 2 buds. There we go. So again, it's this kind of white and purple flower. Take off the extra bits round and about, tidy them up a bit. Now, his actual vegetative growth isn't brilliant. He does look like he's suffering a bit. But hopefully, with a good soak, he'll be okay. Now, Miltoniopsis in general are more cool growing orchids. That's why we love them in Scotland. You know, they don't like being in overly warm temperatures, and they certainly don't like being in direct sun. So you've got to kind of put them in a coolish room, somewhere that, you know, this room here, which is our sitting room, gets light sort of, well, it gets light all day, but it doesn't get direct sun. The back of the house tends to get that during the day, so at night time it can get quite bright in the window, but generally it's really good for plants. So these guys, you know, for example, they would love to be in a back bedroom that has a window but doesn't get direct light. As long as they get some light, enough light, they'll be very happy. Right, and he's got 2 flowers to come, which I'm very happy about. See him for £3? What a bargain. So what I'm going to do now you may have seen me do this before with my rescues, but some people say not to feed them initially until they start to grow, but I like to give them a little bit of a boost. So I'll use my orchid grow food, which I'll show you. I think you've probably seen it before. And just fill up these containers. You get these ceramic things as well. Fill them up and let them soak for maybe an hour or so, and then let them drain completely away. And hopefully they can start on the road to recovery then. But I'm quite pleased with how they look. Every time I went into the shop and saw them sitting there, I just thought they were getting more and more dehydrated, but they're not that bad at all. Because, yeah, as I say, in my experience and from what I've read, Miltoniopsis do not like to be dry. And that's when you get the quercetina leaves. So we've got an example here of quercetina leaves. Oh, that was something else I wanted to discuss. Let me find a quercetina leaf. 2 seconds. Right, a couple of things to show you. So this is Herr Alexander. This guy here with the beautiful big flowers and a gorgeous smell. And he's got more flowers coming. But this flower at the back here, I don't know if I'll try and move it closer to you. This flower here got trapped in the leaf and got all deformed. And then when I tried to rescue him, bits fell off, and it wasn't a successful rescue really. We've still got one bud that looks a bit weird. But I think if your leaf is formed and perhaps you don't have a self-watering pot and maybe the watering sort of a bit fragmented and you forget, because they need sort of, when they're growing, they need access to water just about constantly. So if they don't get it, you get these leaves, which are called quercetina leaves. They kind of grow in this kind of weird way. And because they're kind of, I don't want to say deformed, but because they are that weird shape, that's exactly where your flower spike's going to come out of. So they kind of get trapped because the leaf hasn't formed properly, and so the flower can't come out. So yeah, that creates problems. So if you've got a way to keep them nice and moist when they need the water, then your flowers will just keep going unimpeded and you won't get the quercetina leaves, and then your flower spikes will just naturally grow up and through. Yeah, this one's, I'll try and get that in here. The other half of this one could have had a flower spike, but that's really badly kind of quercetinaed there. But hopefully now that I've got them in the system, we won't get any more of that. And we'll just get beautiful flowers all the time. Right, so I just had another thing to show you here on a slightly different topic. Slightly different. It's a Miltonia. It's not a Miltoniopsis, called Sunset. And I got this maybe September last year, and I saw people with them, and this has got quercetina leaves as well. It's got badly quercetinaed leaves there. Yeah, and they're beautiful flowers that are sort of yellow and purple or pinky, and they sort of just look like a sunset. They're beautiful, and I really wanted one, so I got one, and he never seemed that happy, you know, always seemed a bit struggling. And I've just got him in a terracotta pot, and I was just like, oh well. I mean, he looks quite plump just now, the pseudobulbs and things. And then I noticed a flower spike. So if you can see, I keep showing you things that I can't really see you're seeing. Can you see the flower spike is in there? I'll take another video of it and try and put it in so you can see. So I'm so excited. I'm really excited. So hopefully that will be the first of many for this plant, and I can't wait to see the flowers. I'm really excited. Okay, that's it for today. What I'm going to do is, as I say, fill these guys up with some tepid water with some orchid food, leave them sit in it for an hour, and then drain them off, put them somewhere that gets plenty of light, although I am seriously running out of space. And yeah, and we'll check up on them later. I'm sure they'll, well, fingers crossed, they'll be doing really well. Okay, thanks very much for joining me. I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.